United we fall. A story of family, of betrayal, of trust, of unity, of survival. An original audiobook. Chapter 8. The children wept. They were not happy when she told them that their father wouldn't be coming home for a while. She spared them the ugly details of his infidelity and told them only what they needed to know. "Don't worry, guys, everything is going to be okay," she said, trying to comfort them. "Tell you what," she said excitedly, "let's go get ice cream. I'm buying and you can pick out your absolute favorites. Tonight, the sky's the limit," she said, smiling and appreciating the genuine smiles that she received in return. She was well aware they would take more than ice cream to fill the empty space created by their father's absence, but tonight it would have to do. He sat staring at his best friend, saying nothing. The television set was turned off and so was the radio. The scene was certainly an awkward one. Two grown men sitting alone in a room in an uncomfortable silence. Her life was regaining a sense of normalcy again. Things were about as normal as she could expect, considering the events of the past several months, and she had been considering them. "It really pisses me off," she spoke into the phone to her best friend, "the way he just played with my life, like I was some sort of damned video game. Something for his selfish amusement. God, it just makes me so furious. I wish there was a way for me to make him feel some of the hurt that he's caused me," she continued to vent. Her girlfriend didn't say a word. This was not just due to the fact that she'd always been a very good listener, but also because she just wasn't the type to preach. Besides, she knew full well that it was pointless to try talking to her best friend when she was like this. It was best to just let her get it all out. "I wish I could just grab him by his throat and choke him until his eyes popped out of his big ugly head," she ranted on. "We'd see how much his new girlfriend liked him then." Through her anger, she managed to let out a slight chuckle, to which her best friend responded with an uncomfortable giggle of her own. Then they both erupted into all-out laughter, which lasted a full minute. That felt good, she thought, trying to remember the last time she had simply laughed. She hadn't had much use for laughter these days. "Girl, you're so crazy," her best friend said. "And that's exactly why I love you," she replied. "You're right about that," her friend said, and they laughed again. "Well, girl, I better get off this phone and get my tired butt into bed," she told her friend. "I really appreciate you being there for me again," she added. "That's what friends are for," her friend responded. They said their goodbyes and ended the call. Now she was sitting in her bed, all alone again. She looked around the room for something to do to occupy her mind. She had lied to her friend about being tired, and her children were both fast asleep. There was nothing for her to do now except sit and think, and that was the last thing she wanted to do right now. She decided that she'd go and do the laundry, but before she got up from her seat, the voice spoke to her. The voice broke the silence. "Dude, you're gonna have to talk about this sooner or later. Keeping it all bottled up is making you weird. Hey, what's the point of having a best friend if you can't talk about things with him?" His buddy pleaded his case. "You're right," he said, finally deciding to speak, raising his bowed head. "It's just that—" Then he stopped and lowered his head again. "What, man? What could possibly be so bad that I wouldn't understand? We're boys. We go way back, and you know, I'm not going anywhere, no matter what," his friend said. He raised his head and studied the serious yet sincere look on his best friend's face. His mind raced through the years of memories that these two men shared. College, his wedding. This guy was the best man at my wedding, my kid's godfather, for God's sake, he reminded himself. "You're right," he said, and this time with conviction. "Man, I have completely screwed up my whole life. My marriage is over, and it's all over a woman I met in a bar." His best friend continued to look at him without expression of judgment, listening patiently. I'd been drinking and I guess I had a little too much one night when this girl started flirting with me. She was a serious hoochie. You know the type, miniskirt, a little too short, showing a little too much cleavage. His friend nodded. The last type in the world that would get a second look from me. Unless I was wasted. And I was plenty wasted that night, he said. Man, she was aggressive too, and I think I had come to the bar to clear my head because they'd been fighting at home. It wasn't even a real fight either. It was over something stupid. His face saddened. Man, I don't know what the hell is wrong with me. How could I have messed up everything like this? His eyes started to water up. I understand, man, his friend said. I got you. It's alright, bro. There was a brief silence when his friend added, So you slipped up. Who hasn't? You're only human. You've been a great husband and father for years. Everybody is entitled to make one mistake. Damn. Man, I got the girl pregnant, he said, waiting for his buddy's reaction. His friend's eyebrows wrinkled a bit, and his eyes opened slightly wider, and then he said, Damn, you're kidding me, right? But he could tell that this was not a joke. Dude, his friend continued, you met a girl in a bar and had sex with her and didn't use a condom? Tell me that she didn't give you anything. Please tell me that, he said seriously. She didn't give me anything, and I did use a condom. He paused, took a deep breath, and said, That time. That time, his friend said in disbelief. So you're telling me that you had a thing going on with this hoochie from the bar? Man, I didn't want any of this to happen. I love my wife, but this girl was a freak. I must have lost my mind or something, he admitted to his friend. After that first night, I felt so guilty that I swore I'd never do anything wrong ever again in my life. I threw her number away and stayed away from that bar, he said. Well, then what happened? How did you guys end up having an affair? His friend asked. She came to my job a few months later. I must have been running my drunken mouth and told her where I worked, and she remembered. I tried to get rid of her, but she was persistent, and I didn't want to cause a scene at work, so I thought fast and decided to take a lunch so that she could say what she had to say and get the hell out of my life. That was when she told me that she was pregnant, he said, relieved to be finally getting all this off his chest. But you said you wore a condom. How the hell could she be pregnant by you? His friend asked incredulously. I could have sworn that I did wear one. Man, everything about that night was a blur. She told me that the condom must have came off or something because now she was definitely pregnant and I was the only guy that she had slept with in the past year, he said. Oh yeah, I bet, his friend blurted out, almost laughingly, though he was fully aware that this was not a laughing matter. I know, he said, but what was I supposed to do, man? What if she was telling the truth? I don't know what to do, so I gave her my cell phone number and told her that we'd make plans to get a DNA test done, he said, defending his actions. Hell yeah, his friend said. I feel you on that one, so that you did the honorable thing. I guess I would have done the same. So what I really want to know is, did you guys have an actual affair or not? His friend asked, sitting on the edge of the bed staring intently into his eyes. This is really great, the voice said. Just take 11 years of your life and flush it down the toilet. You made him into the man that he is, and now some skank is reaping all the benefits, the voice continued. She's probably cuddling up with the father of your children right now. She just sat there on her bed listening, not wanting to fight anymore, not even caring anymore. Some hoochie woman has just walked up out of nowhere and ruined your whole life, she said, and the voice was in rare form tonight. And you know what? I don't blame him one bit for leaving you. Just look at you, the voice continued. It wasn't pulling any punches now. Even though she had become numb over the past months since the voice had begun speaking to her, tonight she was once again hurting. She fought back tears. Go ahead and cry. That's all you're really good for anyway. "You're a poor excuse for a wife," the voice said wickedly. "You can't even make love worth a damn. That's exactly why he's probably making love to her tonight." The voice had now become a scream. She covered her ears and closed her eyes tightly. "Please," she begged. "Stop it. Just leave me alone, please," she said to the voice. The voice laughed and said to her, "Instead of crying to me, maybe it's that woman you should get on your knees and beg. Maybe she'll have pity on your sorry ass and let you have your husband back on the weekends." The voice mocking and taunting her. She sat on her bed, rocking back and forth now, defenseless against this mental onslaught. The voice was picking her apart brick by brick. "I bet she's young," it said. The room began to spin all around her now. "And pretty." It continued to dig into her. She opened her eyes now and saw nothing. No bedroom, no light, no world. "And I bet she's got a flat stomach with no ugly stretch marks on it like yours," it went on. She arose from her seat and began to pace the floor, back and forth, her gaze locked directly in front of her as if she were a rabbit following an invisible carrot. "And I bet she's damn good in bed. As a matter of fact, why don't we call your husband and ask him how good she is in bed?" The voice was quiet now. She was trembling, pacing, and breathing so hard that it seemed she might hyperventilate and pass out any second. When the voice started up again, "Now what are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna just lie down and let that bitch walk all over you? Or will you stand up and be a real woman for once in your pathetic life?" it asked. She stopped pacing. "Call her. You know the number. Put your big girl panties on and do what you gotta do," the voice urged. She dialed the number that she had memorized from her husband's cell phone and waited. "Hello," a female voice answered. "We had lunch a few more times to talk about where to have the test done and how much it was going to cost," he told his friend. "Man, she was just so damn nice and sweet and freaking beautiful," he went on. "I think it was on our third or fourth lunch date, and I had been having some petty problems at home." He searched his best friend's eyes desperately, seeking some sign of understanding. He continued, "It just happened. We got a room and it just happened. And the worst part of it all was that I really enjoyed it. It was unbelievable. I felt like I had lost my virginity all over again. We were off to the races from there. We met on lunch breaks and any other time that I could squeeze in. I even came home from work smelling like sex a few times. It was ridiculous." He spoke boldly now. He had nothing left to hide. He had confessed his deepest secrets. Now he would find out how strong their friendship really was. "I thought I was so smart, but I got busted. Now you know the whole story," he concluded. "Jesus," his friend said, finally closing his mouth. It had been hanging open for the past several minutes as he listened to his friend tell this unbelievable tale. Then he said, "I don't know what to say, man. Are you okay? What are we gonna do now?" His best friend was supportive, proving himself completely worthy of the title, best friend. "A friend in need, brother," he thought to himself. "Hello," the female voice on the telephone repeated. Hi. You don't know me, but my name is," she began. "This is his wife, isn't it?" the girl on the phone asked. "Yes, I'm his, wife," she replied. "I'm not calling to start any trouble," she said in a surprisingly calm voice. Although her mouth was moving, and it was her voice that she heard coming out of it, she felt like a spectator to this whole conversation. She continued, "I just wanted to talk for a minute if you don't mind. I know I have no right calling you." "No right?" The voice in her head started up again. "It's okay," the girl on the phone interrupted. "I kind of expected this call after he told me that you'd been snooping through his phone." "That smug little bitch," the voice in her head said angrily. "So what can I help you with, hon?" the other woman asked in a sickeningly pleasant voice. I just felt like we should talk. We might as well be civil, you know. For the children's sake, she told the girl on the other end of the phone. That's right, the other woman agreed. There's no need for us to have ill will towards each other. I actually don't have any problem with you at all. Great, she laughed slightly, pleasantly, naturally, and then said, That's exactly how I feel too. She laughed again, and the stranger on the phone joined in the laughter. Did I catch you at a bad time or anything? She said to her husband's mistress. Is there any way that I can get you to come over and maybe we can sit down with coffee or a glass of wine and chit chat? I'm just trying to come to terms with things and get some closure, you know? She continued. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm sorry, I know I must sound like a crazy woman to you. Then she exhaled, and she had laid it on the line now. Of course I understand, girlfriend. I know exactly how you feel. I'll be happy to come over and chat with you. Is 15 minutes okay? The mistress asked. Great, thank you very much, she said. My address is... The woman on the phone interrupted. I know where you live. I'll be there shortly. Okay then, see ya, bye, she said to the woman on the phone and ended the call. How the hell does she know where you live? The voice asked. Don't tell me that he brought that home wrecker into your house. The two men sat looking at each other in a silence so thick with tension that you could cut it with a knife. You could have literally heard a pin drop in that room. Man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've messed up everything. My whole life is ruined, he said to his best friend in the world, who got up from his chair and gave him a loving hug. He began to weep.